Hi, so yesterday we looked at the way that God gets closer to us after the garden and being thrown out of the garden. And the idea was to look at the tabernacle and the way that God invites us to come, or invited some people to come and worship Him, to meet with Him above His throne at the Ark of the Covenant, which had the law in it, because that's the basis of the godly society, but mercy over that. And everything in there speaks of Jesus. So you've got the lights, because from the candle, because Jesus is the light of the world, and the lights go on when we worship. We had the bread, because Jesus is bread of life, and we get fed when we worship. We had the manna, because it's a daily thing. We have the lava, the basin, in order to be washed by Jesus, and we have the burnt offering, which reminds us of the sacrifice that Jesus makes for us. And the whole point of that is to try and help us to understand that the Old Testament is really an outworking of the heart of God, which is fully seen in Jesus. And as we get that, I think it helps us to understand the Old Testament a lot better. Anyway, so God moves into the temple, into the tabernacle, which becomes the temple, and then moves into the neighborhood in Jesus. And I just think that's such an amazing and profound thing, to recognize God with us. Just a huge truth, and something that's really worth dwelling on, thinking through. Where is God with me? Where do I sense His presence most? Where do I sense His presence least? How can I see God with me in the darker situations that I'm in where I'm the only believer, or where it's hard to be righteous, or where God doesn't, where the whole system seems to work without God. And then the Holy Spirit in us. So we've got the tabernacle pointing to Jesus, we've got Jesus in the city, in the village with us, and then we've got the Spirit of Christ in our hearts and changing us from the inside, giving us guidance, giving us the Holy Spirit, the Comforter, bringing the fruit of the Spirit and transforming us to make us more like Jesus, and being obviously the hope of things to come, the down payment, the deposit guaranteeing our inheritance. I hope you have a good time as you talk about these things. I think it's fascinating. I hope you find it interesting, and I hope that you experience something of the closeness of Christ, the Father love of God, the passion for Jesus, the filling of the Holy Spirit as you minister to each other tonight. Have a good time. See you in a bit. Bye-bye.